Hello, Holy Spirit, we just ask that you lead this conversation. The word for today is don't rush. Holy Spirit over human speed. I got up this morning and I have a lot to do. And I was like, okay, let's get started. And I heard, wait, and meditate. I'm like, okay. So I start listening to oceans. And it's just talking about, it's a reference to when Peter was walking on the water. When you keep your eyes on Jesus, you'll keep walking on the water. But when you don't, you'll sink. When you put other things first, your doubt, your unbelief, your job, your to-do list, your stress, your worries, you will surely sink. Jesus says he'll keep you if you have your eyes stayed on him, not because you save yourself, but to be in communion with the one who has you. You have to hold his hand. He can't guide you if you don't let him hold your hand. And after laying down there and taking in the music, just being still in the presence of God, I was given the word don't rush. It's also told the reason why you struggle with fear is because you rush. Now, don't mistake in slowing down for sluggardness. Slowing down and sluggardness are not the same thing. You still have things in your day to do. But the thing is, when you stop and you plug in to the energy source, your mindset towards the things that you're doing change. Your mindset towards what you are doing changes, because you realize you start your day knowing the world is not your home. I have a part-time job, and every time I go to the part-time job, I remind myself I do not live here. I do not live here. Do what I gotta do, remain respectful, but I do not live here. So I set it in my mind that I'm going back home. Every day we open up our eyes in this world, we have to remind ourselves that we don't truly live here. This is not our home. And when you know that somewhere is not your home, you don't get too comfortable. When you know somewhere is not your home, when you go out to work, when you go out on the road, you go out with the expectation that you're coming back home. And that's the same thing with the presence of God, that he is our dwelling place, that he is our home. And a day started without God is one without divine direction. So Holy Spirit over human speed. God's not bound to time. He can give you a word for your day that can help you to accomplish what you need to accomplish much faster than what you could do in your human speed. This is predicated upon Proverbs 19 verse 2. KJV says, also that the soul be without knowledge, it is not good. And he that hasteth with his feet sinneth. So a soul without knowledge, not a body without knowledge. Essentially, this verse is alluding to the fact that the deepest parts of us need to be preserved and guided accordingly. Because when the deepest parts of us are not fed properly and guided accordingly, we do things in our own strength. God gives us the Holy Spirit to connect with him. But if our soul is not in alignment with his Holy Spirit, the soul, our will, our emotions, the deepest part of us, then we're going to go ahead and do things in our own strength. And every single time we do something in our own strength, we usually mess up. We know right and do wrong. That's what sinning is. That's what James 4 verse 7 says sinning is. Knowing right and doing wrong, missing the mark. Another version, NLT, says, enthusiasm without knowledge is no good. Haste makes mistakes. A lot of times we think productivity is getting a lot done. Productivity is less about getting a lot done and more about doing a lot with what you have to do. Productivity is less about getting a lot done and doing a lot with what you have to do. So you may have 20 things to do on your to-do list, and because of our human nature, we think, oh my gosh, I was so productive, versus you focus on 4 things and you're focused about it. Of course, there are times where it's busy, but it's just a reminder, slow down, because your human speed, your human strength could never compare to the Holy Spirit. And it doesn't matter how excellent your plan is, In the eyes of God, your plan is an estimation. God don't make estimations. He makes calculations, and it requires an act of faith because you start to realize what's for you will not miss you. What's for you will not miss you. You are not so powerful enough that you can reverse and change God's plans. You can. You can make your own plans and, get in the way, but God's saying get out of the way. Get out of the way because he's coming through anyway, whether you're tagging along or being mowed over because of your own self. So your worth is not measured by your productivity. Old saying, quality over quantity, it's a true thing. So let's not take these cliches as if they're nothing. And like I said, again, it requires an act of faith. Because when you stop to connect with God, to plug into your source and keep him flowing inside of you for the rest of the day, not just plugging your source in the day and then forget him, you show unto God, Lord, I trust you. Lord, I trust you. Lord, I believe the sacrifice that Jesus Christ made on the cross to die for me. The one who beat death, hell, and the grave surely knows the help that I need today. When we say, give us this day our daily bread, we are telling God, Lord, I accept that you're going to give me what I need for today. The Lord's going to give you an all-you-can-eat buffet, but not for the whole week, for each day. When you go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, on that day, you take in as much as what is given, but you can't take it home. And the daily bread that you receive, he gives you as much as you need for that day. As much as you need for that day. When the children were in Israel leaving, the Lord gave them manna. And manna means, what is it? Every day they had to depend on God and ask, what is it? Because when we don't, we become gods ourselves. So just a word of encouragement, if you are rushing about anything, slow down, lean into the Holy Spirit, connect to the Father. Sometimes he only needs to give you one word, and you keep that on your mind throughout the day. Don't let this world trick you into thinking getting many things done means that you're productive. A lot of times we're doing many things that are only corroding and messing up our soul. Tied up hands are not productive hands. Be intentional and be focused. And when you're intentional and you're focused, you realize that throughout your day, you start to cut off the things that don't bring you towards your intentionality. Does this draw me closer to God? Does this allow me to glorify God? Does this allow me to grow in my faith? You start reevaluating your associations, your friendships, the things you watch, do, and the things that you take on. Because you want to stay intentional about your day, and you want to stay being reminded that the world is not your home. And this is a practical step to win the day, not on your own, but with God. We're introduced to so many scriptures, so many, and they're awesome and great. But if we don't allow the Holy Spirit to contextualize the content that we're given, we shout and rejoice when we read a verse, but we go on about our day, not relying on God for the wisdom. James 1 verse 5 says, let him ask in wisdom, because the Lord will give it to you generously and not judge you for asking in wisdom. Have you ever been judged for asking for help? Have you ever been afraid to ask for help? Have you ever been afraid to be vulnerable? If the Lord is not going to judge you for asking for wisdom, clearly he knows that you need it before you even ask for it. You asking for something and asking the Lord for something is not what makes him move. It's what allows you to move to him so that you can witness and be more aware that he's moving. So as you go on today, be diligent, not distracted. Don't rush. Rest. Rest is not a pose. It's a heart posture. Let the Lord lead you and guide you. Don't be hasty, especially for big decisions. And remember that this world is not your home. Don't allow it to take what it never gave you. It didn't give you your joy, and it didn't give you your peace. Take care.